This week, Baltimore experienced a major tragedy with the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. In our video today, we're going to look at what this bridge collapse means to the housing market in and around the city of Baltimore, and furthermore, for the state of Maryland. So stick around, we're getting started with it right now. What's going on, everyone? It's Adam Taylor back again with another video all about living here in Maryland. Today, we're going to look at the housing impact that the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge is going to have on Maryland. And in reality, this port is the fourth largest port in the entire US, and it is responsible for so much commerce. And I think that's really step one, is to learning more about the Port of Baltimore, the bridge itself, and what this is going to do to the community. And I really want to look at this from a local perspective. A lot of people think like, oh, you know, people are just going to have to travel a little bit more. No, my friends, look, it is much more than that. So let's get into the nitty gritty of this and talk about the Port of Baltimore. We're going to talk about the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and then we're going to talk about the communities that surround the Francis Scott Key Bridge and the impact that it's going to have. Now, a little bit about the Port of Baltimore. Number one, it is the fourth largest port in all of the US. So New York, New Jersey, and I believe Los Angeles are ahead of the Port of Baltimore for goods that they import and export each and every year. But Baltimore is the largest port for automobiles in all of the US. Over 750,000 cars come through the Port of Baltimore each and every year. It's also the largest port for big construction equipment. All of that stuff is coming right through Baltimore. In addition to that, Baltimore Port is the second largest exporter of coal. We're taking tons and tons of coal, literally, over to places in Europe and Asia. You know, it's coming right out of Baltimore. And then the last thing that I want to mention about the Port of Baltimore, and this is probably within the last decade and a half, Baltimore has become a cruise port. You can hop on a cruise ship right here in Baltimore, and I've highlighted that in some of my other videos. But cruise lines like Carnival Cruise Line, Norwegian Cruise Line, as well as Royal Caribbean all service patrons in and out of the Port of Baltimore. Now, the most important thing that you should know about the Port of Baltimore is the 15,000 workers and jobs that are directly tied to the Port of Baltimore. So you can see that this port being shut down right now is impacting a lot of families and a lot of people. And my friends, it's not good. And the talks that I'm hearing here locally, because you might see 2 minutes of it on your newscast, wherever you are in the world. Here, it's all that's dominating the news. We're getting updates left and right, and we're hearing about every little nitty-gritty detail, but they're saying that the port might not be open until, at the earliest, May the 1st. So let's now look at the Francis Scott Key Bridge and talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get into the housing data stuff here. Real quick, before we jump into facts about the Francis Scott Key Bridge, if this is your first time to our channel, number one, I want to welcome you. My name is Adam Taylor. I run the Living in Baltimore, Maryland channel, and on this channel, we talk about all things Maryland. We talk about living here, working here, chilling here, and most importantly, getting out and having some fun in the great state of Maryland. So if you're interested in learning more, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. It's the one that looks like the one right over my shoulder here. Don't forget to give the little bell a click. That way you're alerted every time we put out another video just like this one. Now, as I mentioned all the time, my team and I, we're receiving phone calls, text messages, and emails from folks all over the world looking to make a move right here to Baltimore, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about making a move, whether it's to Baltimore or anywhere else in the great state of Maryland, we'd love to help you out, but we just need one thing from you. We need you to reach out and connect with us. So please give us a call, shoot us a text message, or send us an email. No matter how you need to get a hold of us, we have your back when moving to Maryland. But I'm going to tell you guys real quick, the best way, this is the best way to get a hold of us. Schedule your own one-on-one Zoom appointment with us using the link down in the description below. That way you and I can hop on a face-to-face Zoom call. We'll get to learn your needs, what you're looking for, and more importantly, put a plan in place to find you the perfect place here in Maryland. So let's get back into the video, because I want to share this stuff with you, and you got to stick around to the end, because the communities that surround the bridge here, there's going to be a ripple effect and a pretty big impact to those communities. So now let's look at the Francis Scott Key Bridge, because this bridge, it was originally built to be a lane of travel, essentially, for hazardous materials. Your gasoline, oil, etc. Anything that's flammable or corrosive, it can't go through the tunnels that service Baltimore City. Now, just to give you all some logistical stuff here, to get to Baltimore City from the northeastern side of Baltimore, you have to go through one of two tunnels. You have to either go through the Fort McHenry Tunnel or the old tunnel, the Harbor Tunnel. to get into the city of Baltimore. Now, you can duck off at one of the side streets. Yes, you can, but the traditional modes of travel are through one of the two tunnels. And unfortunately, you can't bring hazardous materials through those tunnels. So you won't see tanker trucks coming through there. You won't see even simple things that you and I may do, like take a camper through the tunnel. Because it has a propane tank on it, you can't even take it through the tunnel. And what's going to happen here is now anybody with a hazardous material is going to have to find an alternate route. So let's say you're a trucker and you're coming up from Washington, D.C., and you need to get to the other side of the Port of Baltimore into Dundalk or Sparrows Point. That bridge, going over it may take you 5 to 20 minutes, depending upon time of day, traffic, whether there's an accident or not. It's not going to take long at all. Now, if you're coming up from DC and you need to get to Sparrows Point, Dundalk Marine Terminal, whatever it might be, now you have to find an alternative route. The route most of these truckers, in my opinion, they're probably going to take, because it's going to be the easiest for them, is they're going to have to go all the way around the western side of the Baltimore Beltway, all the way up to the top of the Beltway near points like Towson, and then circle back down to the eastern side of the Beltway to get into Sparrows Point or Dundalk. That's going to take anywhere from an hour and 15 minutes to maybe an hour and a half or more. But you may be able to travel right through the city and navigate all the tight streets in the city. But, my father was a trucker, and if there was one thing that he did not like doing, it was getting in and out of tight spaces. Because, let's face it, driving an 18-wheeler, it's not easy to get around. So that's the main reason that the Key Bridge was designed. In addition to that, the Key Bridge also provided folks that lived on eastern Baltimore County an easy way to get to points south of Baltimore City. Say they wanted to go to Washington, D.C., or Columbia, or whatever it might be. Instead of them getting on Interstate 695, driving all the way up to 95, going through the tunnels, and then heading on 95 south, they could do it, in as little as 10 minutes from their house. It was a quick and easy route to get in and out of town. And the bridge serves as a connector between Baltimore City and Baltimore County and Anne Arundel County on the western side of the bridge. Now, the bridge services over 11.5 million cars pass back and forth over this bridge each and every year. And when you break that down, it's about 31,000 cars a day. Now, here's one thing that we're going to point out with the economic impact. And we're going to start right at the state level here, because there is a toll, my friends, to get across this bridge. And tolls right now are running about $6 each way. If you have commuter plans, it might be a little bit cheaper. So let's take 31,000, multiply it by $6. You're coming up with 186 grand in toll revenue a day. And that's minimum. That's calculating the minimum amount that, say it was all car traffic. This doesn't include the premiums that truckers have to pay to get over the bridges. So if you multiply that on out, you're looking at over $6 million in toll revenue that is gone right now. It's not going to come into the state whatsoever. So, my friends, that's a little bit about the Key Bridge. You learned a little bit about the port. Let's talk about the communities that surround both sides of this permanent structure into Baltimore skyline. Now we got to talk about the communities and the impact on housing, okay? Because, my friends, this thing is going to sting and it's downright gonna hurt. And in reality, the communities that I feel and I'm already seeing the impact on are the communities on the northeastern side of the Patapsco River. We're talking communities like Dundalk, Sparrows Point, Essex, Chase, Middle River, and even people as far as White Marsh can be impacted by this unfortunate event. And the reason being is, let's face it, I just told you 15,000 jobs are tied directly to the Port of Baltimore. Guess where all these folks are living? They're living in these communities because it's a quick drive to work. And these communities are very affordable. The majority of the communities, especially Dundalk, Essex, and Sparrows Point, a lot of them are blue-collar towns. And a lot of the workers are essentially working paycheck to paycheck. These communities, they need that port. I mean, many years ago, Bethlehem Steel occupied Sparrows Point. And originally, a lot of these houses were built to service the steel mill workers' families. And many of them set up in these communities. Now, Bethlehem Steel closed down a while ago, and that was a big impact on the city. This is almost like round two. happening for folks in Eastern Baltimore County. So my friends, look, those of you in Eastern Baltimore County, I love you. I'm praying for you and your families because I know this is going to hurt. Guys, I mean, I've already seen it. We have an internal Facebook page at the company that I work with, and I can't tell you enough how many posts are coming up about folks in Dundalk, in Middle River, Essex, whatever it might be, that just don't know what to do with their homes right now. Many of them are taking their homes off the market. Many of them are not even going to be going anywhere because, let's face it, it's not going to be easy to live in one of these communities going forward for the next 5 to 10 years until this bridge is reconstructed, because now their commute times to do a simple, what was a 10 to 15 minute trip have exponentially grown depending upon the mode of travel and where they're going to get in and through the city. So the crappy part is property values in these parts of town may suffer. I hope they don't, but I'm just being transparent with you. And if you have a job in one of these areas or right near the port, you've really got to be selective with where you're going to be moving to. Or if you need to get from one side of, say, Anne Arundel County to Baltimore County or Baltimore City, and you were dependent upon, the Key Bridge to do that, you really got to think through what's going to happen going forward, my friends. So if I can ask a favor here, and I only ask one typically in a lot of my videos, but I want a special favor from you guys. Look, please pray for these families because this isn't going to be easy for them. Many of them are probably going to lose their jobs right now. 15,000 jobs are impacted right now. Nothing is going to happen at the Port of Baltimore. If ships can't come in and out of the port, they're stuck in the bay. They can't do anything in the bay. And these workers don't have ships to unload or fill. So again, please pray for these folks and their families to get through this challenging time together. Hey, real quick, if you are finding value in this video, I greatly appreciate your help and your support in growing this channel. If you could do me a quick and easy favor, it's to hit the like button down below. It's the one that looks like a thumbs up just like this. By doing that, you are helping me on my mission to become the #1 YouTube channel about living here in the great state of Maryland. I am dedicated to this, guys. Going to be putting videos out each and every week to really showcase communities, tell you what life is like here in the state of Maryland, and more importantly, what you could expect when living here. And I try to give an honest perspective on what life really is like. The good, bad, the ugly, I bring it all to you. So if you wouldn't mind, hit that like button. Again, I'd greatly appreciate your support. Drop any comments down below. Look, lots of people, locals and people, as far away as Korea are watching this channel, and they've got questions about this place here. And I want your comments, your questions. I want you to drop it in because I want to be the guy that builds a conversation around the state of Maryland. So please drop those comments down below. Either myself, somebody on my team, or one of the other great Marylanders here that watches this channel will do your best to answer any and all of your questions here. So let's get back into the video because we got to look at the other side of the bridge and the impact it's going to have there. Now we've got to look at the western side of the bridge, and the communities that are going to be impacted there are Glen Burnie, Severna Park, Millersville, Stony Beach, Riviera Beach, and many more. And I think Anne Arundel County, my friends, respectfully, I'm going to say this, okay, is going to fare a little bit better through this storm when it comes to property values. And the reason being is the majority or a good chunk of Anne Arundel County is beautiful waterfront real estate. Whereas if you were to look directly across the river, you're going to see the majority of that shoreline is industrial stuff. Running from Bethlehem Steel all the way into the port, it's all industrial. That, in reality, there's not much waterfront real estate in Dundalk, Sparrows Point, etc. In addition to that, Anne Arundel County has a pretty much direct line right into the city of Baltimore, which, comparing it against the eastern side, you've got to travel a little bit more to get into the city, and it's kind of a pain in the neck. And oh, by the way, you got to pay a toll to get in from the eastern side of the city. So again, I'm praying for all my friends in Anne Arundel County, as well as eastern Baltimore County and Baltimore City, that they and their families get through this unfortunate tragedy that we've all faced here. Now, my friends, you got to know this about Marylanders and Baltimoreans in particular here. And it's this: we are tough as hell. And I will go to bat with anybody from Baltimore here any day. And I know our city is not only going to survive this, doggone it, we're going to be stronger. And Maryland is going to thrive during this time. Okay, we're going to see a setback, but we will get through this storm. And I hope that you all keep many of the Marylanders that are impacted, because you don't have to look far here to have a family member, a friend, that works near the port or their business is tied to the port in some way, shape, or form. So please keep those folks in your prayers and keep Maryland on your mind. And what I'm going to try and do, because I want to help these communities sustain their property values, I'm going to go into these communities. And you know what? I'm going to be highlighting these communities and bringing them to you. So I want you to stick around on this channel and really support it to indirectly support these communities. I'm going to go out of my way to do that. And I'm excited to do it because it's going to be a cool story to tell for years to come. So my friends, if a move to Maryland is in your future, we'd love to help you out with your transition here. But I just need one thing from you. I need you to reach out and connect with us. So please give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or better yet, schedule your own one-on-one private Zoom appointment using the link that I told you about earlier down in the description below. That way you and I can hop on, have a great conversation over Zoom, and see what we can do to help you out in finding you a home here in Maryland. Now, before you go, I want you to check out this next video. I think this is your next step in learning more about life in the great state of Maryland. Until the next video, my friends, take care, stay safe, and remember, my team and I have your back from Baltimore down the bay, all the way to the beaches in Ocean City. We have you covered. We'll talk to you then. Take care. Bye-bye.